Silence. It is the most heavy thing in Glenbuck. Today, if you stand in this patch of Scottish moorland, the only sound is the wind scrubbing against the long grass. There are no sirens, no cheers, no doors slamming. From a population of nearly 1,700 at its peak, the current census of Glenbuck is 0. But this silence is a lie. This empty earth once shouted. Within this tiny, isolated mining village, a place with no running water and no electricity, lay a factory more efficient than any industrial plant in London. Glenbuck didn't just produce coal, it produced legends. 50 professional footballers emerged from this single street. 50 men who went from the dark of the mines to the floodlights of the world's greatest stadiums. And then, we let the village vanish. Not because the talent dried up, but because the world changed its mind about the value of the people who lived here. The why of Glenbuck was simple: carbon. The village was born from an optimistic, albeit brutal, industrial dream. In the 19th century, the British Empire ran on coal, and Glenbuck sat atop a massive, dark fortune. The architecture was a reflection of raw utility. This wasn't a town designed for aesthetics. It was a machine for extraction. The homes were the rows. Single-story, stone-walled barracks built by the coal companies. They were designed with one intention: to keep the miners close to the pit head. The design was honest about its purpose. It was communal, tight-knit, and harsh. The lack of infrastructure, the absence of toilets or light, wasn't a failure of the design. It was a feature of the corporate greed that birthed it. In this cramped, dark environment, a unique social architecture formed. When your life is spent 500 feet underground in a narrow seam of coal, the surface world becomes a place of frantic release. The air in Glenbuck tasted of soot and sweat. But on Saturday afternoons, the village transformed. The Glenbuck Cherrypickers. That was the name of the local team. It sounds delicate, but the play was anything but. The pitch was a rugged clearing, often dusted with coal waste. Here, the sensory details of the golden era were visceral. The heavy, leather ball, tripled in weight by the Scottish rain. The sharp, metallic tang of the mine still on the player's breath. For the Shankly family, 5 brothers who all became professionals, football wasn't a hobby. It was the only exit strategy. Bill Shankly once described the village not as a place of poverty, but as a place of total obsession. The emotional stakes were absolute. If you played well, you might escape the black damp of the mines. If you failed, the pit was waiting for you on Monday morning. This pressure created a specific type of character: hard, uncompromising, and deeply loyal to the collective. This was the soul of the village. It was a place where the human spirit collided with industrial necessity and won. But the seams began to thin. The decay of Glenbuck wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a deferred maintenance of the soul. As the coal industry began to centralize and the shallower pits were exhausted, the village's reason for existing was questioned by accountants in distant cities. One by one, the ignored problems became excuses. The lack of running water, once a badge of the miners' toughness, was now cited as a reason for uninhabitability. The crumbling stone of the rows, once a symbol of the village's permanence, was now labeled a safety hazard. By the 1950s, the school closed. Then the post office. The village was being eroded by 1,000 small cuts. The people didn't leave because they wanted to. They left because the life support systems of the village were being systematically unplugged. Here is where the official narrative and the complicated reality diverge. The official explanation for the final death of Glenbuck in the 1970s was economic viability and modernization. The authorities claimed it was more humane to move the remaining families to nearby Muirkirk, to homes with modern amenities. But look closer. As the deep mines closed, a new, more destructive form of extraction took over: open cast mining. To get to the remaining coal, the companies didn't need miners, they needed the land. Specifically, the land where the houses stood. The village wasn't just abandoned. It was in the way of a more profitable, less labor-intensive business model. The timing is the smoking gun. While the government spoke of social progress and better housing for the residents, the excavators were already idling at the edge of town. They didn't just want the coal. They wanted to erase the village so they wouldn't have to deal with the people. By the time the last resident moved out in 1979, the bulldozers moved in. They didn't just demolish the houses. they shattered the very street layout. Today, the replacement for Glenbuck is a heritage site, a small, tidy monument to Bill Shankly. It is a diminished future. We traded a living, breathing community of 1,700 people for a cold piece of granite. We replaced a factory of legends with a site of historical interest. The massive scale of what Glenbuck achieved, the 50 professionals, the culture of grit, has been compressed into a footnote for tourists. The houses are gone. The pitch is gone. Even the Glenbuck Cherrypickers name exists only in history books. Every city has a ghost, but Glenbuck is a ghost that should haunt us more than most. It reminds us that institutions and towns are not just collections of bricks and mortar. They are the vessels for human potential. When we allow a place like Glenbuck to be erased for the sake of economic efficiency, we aren't just losing old buildings. We are losing the specific conditions that create greatness. We often talk about public trust as something involving votes and laws. But there is a deeper trust, the trust that if a community gives its blood and sweat to build a nation, that nation won't let the community be swallowed by the earth once the profit margin drops. Glenbuck didn't die because it was empty. It was empty because it was no longer useful. And that is a secret written into every abandoned pavement in the world.